Climate victims, their island wrecked by a recent hurricane, Barbuda can't wait for the lumbering COP juggernaut. So with a coalition of other island states, it's now planning to sue the likes of the UK and other big polluters in the International Court of Justice. Tuvalu, part of that action, its foreign minister's message to COP recorded knee-deep in seawater. The island state front line of rising sea levels that COP is supposed to halt.
With those survivors, we stand up.
And here in Glasgow, Filipinos at the COP make their point from islands where typhoons grow ever more intense as the climate warms. Last week was all about reaching agreement on key areas, forestry, energy and finance, for example. And it's all about trying to keep the world on track to a global temperature rise of 1.5 degrees. This week, though, it gets political, policing and funding the route to that limit of temperature rise. Ministers coming in with their prime ministers on call, turning, in theory, paper promises into real policy.
Together, we face the arduous task of building political consensus between almost 200 countries. Finding consensus is not going to be straightforward.
So this week the COP is all about fixing three key things. Firstly, agreeing a global system of actually measuring emissions. Incredibly, we still don't have that in place. Secondly, it's about getting the big polluting countries to finance and clear up the mess they've caused. And thirdly, it's about getting the world to find a way of financing countries who are poor, emerging economies, so they can move out of carbon, to decarbonize. Well, the COP may achieve all of that by the weekend, some of it or none of it. No country, of course, wants to be the one wrecking the process, but some are accused of playing with fire. Australia, Brazil, Russia, China even, and particularly Saudi Arabia, say both negotiators and campaigners. Isabel Cavalier-Adav has a decade of experience in global climate talks.
There are real problems and there are real blockers. Saudi Arabia, one of them, and many others who have been making life difficult. Some of them are political tactics, very common at COPs, can be overcome with very delicate negotiation and diplomatic skills.
Given the way that the voting happens, I mean, most people would think, well, surely the majority will decide and it'll be voted through on the majority. That isn't how it works, is it?
No, Saudi Arabia was very successful years ago, and people may remember the Rio Earth Summit in the early 90s, of blocking getting rules, voting rules passed where you could have a majority vote on something. That means everything has to happen by consensus. And that is ridiculously hard and allows individual countries to try and hold back progress when the most vulnerable here are fighting for their lives.
We asked, of course, the Saudis about this, but they haven't come back. The US president, who saw the historic Paris climate deal over the line, pointedly took up the growing theme of pariah climate states in his brief visit to Glasgow today.
I have to confess, it was particularly discouraging to see the leaders of two of the world's largest emitters, China and Russia, decline to even attend the proceedings. And their national plans so far reflect what appears to be a dangerous lack of urgency.
So inside here tomorrow, we'll expect a slew of damning data on where the world's climate is really heading. That should concentrate minds even further.